Hi there and welcome to our next edition of our C2 Chemical Resources topic. Today we're going to be looking at fertilizers and yield. We're kind of following on from the last time where we were making acids and bases and carrying out titrations, and we're going to move that on to see how that relates to fertilizers. Okay, so here are objectives for today's lesson. So by the end of this lesson on fertilizers and yield, you should understand how to make a fertilizer using acids and bases and how to calculate the yield of a crop. Fertilizers are chemicals that are used to help their plants gain essential elements. Now, essential elements for plants include nitrogen, phosphorus and potassium. Now the reason we want these is because we need to increase the crop yield. Now fertilizers should be soluble in water so that they're able to be taken in by the plants through the roots. Now the manufacturing of fertilizers happens by mixing a acid with an alkali. Now we should remember what an alkali is, and that's a base that dissolves into water. Now fertilizers can be made by neutralizing acids with an alkali. Now one example of a fertilizer is something called ammonium nitrate. Now ammonium nitrate has essential elements nitrogen in the ammonium and nitrogen in the nitrate. Now to make ammonium nitrate, you add together ammonia with nitric acid. Now with this we get a chemical reaction, so we can show the chemical reaction go this way. So that's ammonia plus nitric acid makes ammonium nitrate. Now another one, and I'll do this the right way this time, we can make is ammonium sulfate, and this is made using sulfuric acid and ammonia again. So we add those two together to get the ammonium nitrate. So here it's quite simple that we should know already the names of the salt that are made here, which is the fertilizer, and we should be able to remember some of the common acids and alkalis that we use to make them. Now in order to make a fertilizer we need to use the equipment that we used in one of the previous lessons, and that is a burette. Now a burette is one of these pieces of equipment. Now what we can do is underneath the burette we can put an evaporating basin as we did previously. Now what we can then do is have the alkali in here, and then we can drip in the acid so that we can get that neutralization reaction. Now we can then use a glass rod and some universal indicator paper to test the pH of this by putting a couple of drops onto the universal indicator paper, and that will give an indication as to the pH. Now once we've done this we can evaporate the water, because if we remember that an acid plus a base will equal a salt plus the water, and we can collect the salt that's left. Now we can do this a couple of ways. We can heat this directly with a Bunsen flame, or we can use a beaker of hot water and put the evaporating basin over the top to evaporate the water off that way. This way it does take a bit longer, but we do get a better indication of the fertilizer that we make. And then if we've got any solution left, we can then filter that using a filter funnel with so there's a filter funnel, and then we can get rid of the water, and then we're left with the filter paper with some of the fertilizer in that we can then use. Okay, so the detailed instructions to go through what we have just done then include several steps. Now, the first step is to measure out the alkalis, such as potassium hydroxide, and put that into an evaporating basin using a measuring cylinder. Now, once we've done that, we can add the acid, normally a nitric acid, using a burette. Now, we can then test the pH using a glass rod and universal indicator paper, and we can just continually add that until we get to a pH of 7. Now, our third stage is to evaporate off the water from the solution. Now, we can do this in two ways. We can do it really quickly, or we can do it slowly, or we can do it even between the two. Now, if we do it slowly, we can just leave the water to evaporate naturally. We can do it quickly, where we just put it directly over the top of a Bunsen, and we can leave a glass rod in the evaporating basin to allow that to form the crystals. Now, our fourth stage is then to filter off the crystals from the remainder of the solution. And then our final stage is to remove the crystals completely, wash them with water, and then leave them to dry again. And this is just our final way of making a fertilizer. Okay, so that's the end of our fertilizers and yield part of the C2 topic, chemical resources. I hope you've enjoyed it. We've looked at the why we need fertilizers, for those essential minerals for plants to increase yield. We also look at some of the common ones, common fertilizers that tend to have those essential elements in, and then we looked at the stages, which you will need to know off by heart. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed it, and I will see you next time. Bye bye.